Susul.
Welcome to Under the Plumb Bob, the podcast about all things related to the EA Maxis series of games called The Sims. We avoid the real world by talking about our made-up ones. Each episode, we're going to focus on several rotating themes, including building, gameplay, lore, and more.
Woo!
I know you're so excited. We are. I'm Roxy, and head of Team Llama, and here with me today are...
I'm Melly. Hi, welcome back.
And I'm Melissa. A few extra letters. Yeah, we're forming a girl band.
Exactly, Melly and Melissa. We want to keep it simple for you.
This is also our first episode after our first episode of the new year. Yeah. So happy new year, y'all. Welcome back.
2019 has all kinds of possibilities. As long as you're not nervous subject, the world is your oyster. Today, we're going to be talking about a very special NPC from The Sims 2, none other than the Grim Reaper's son, Nervous Subject.
I mean, just put it right out there. That's the big spoiler alert. Hello.
We're probably going to call this episode Nervous Subjects, so...
No burying the lead here.
If you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, you're about to know a lot more.
Exactly. This is one of our special lore episodes where we delve into a historical aspect of The Sims. So a lot of this is coming from The Sims 2, particularly the beloved and quirky Strangetown neighborhood.
Ah, Strangetown.
I wish I'd played in Strangetown because it sounds like there was some messed up shit happening there.
It was bizarre, and if you care to get into it, I could talk for hours about the weirdness that is Strangetown. I think we'll get into it a lot with Nervous, because he's sort of the epicenter of why there's all this weird and kind of borderline dark happenings in Strangetown.
Actually, Bella Goth's story touched lightly on Strangetown because she's in Strangetown, but she's missing in The Sims 3. No, Sims 2. And now I'm getting confused. Yeah, in The Sims 2, she's missing because in The Sims 3, she's a little kid.
She's in Sims 2 in her homeworld with the Goths. She's not in that family. But if you play in Strangetown, and it's a rare occurrence, but occasionally you will see a Bella Goth walking around Strangetown. And that's kind of part of her mystique and her creepy factor. And what happened to Bella? Well, she's in Strangetown.
Maybe she's an experiment.
You know who else might be an experiment? Nervous Subject.
Yeah, but we will get into that. So if you want to find Nervous Subject, where he was first introduced, like I said, you go to Strangetown in The Sims 2. He's an adult, but he's in the household with a married couple named Loki and Circe Beaker. They're reportedly mad scientists, but he isn't adopted. He's not their adopted son. He appears to just live with them, or perhaps he's imprisoned by them.
What's weird about their house, and I just kind of took a look at the sort of setup for their home in Strangetown. It's very castle-esque in appearance. It's got sort of like these weirdly shaped walls at the top, and they have some towers and turrets and whatnot. There's one bedroom for the couple, and then Nervous live in seemingly a basement that is like a sunken floor. You go down some stairs, there's a bed, and not much else. So start being uncomfortable, because this is where it gets weird.
Yes, content warning, there appears to be a captive in the basement. So you might be asking, what does this have to do with the Grim Reaper? Well, if you look at Nervous Subject's family tree, his mother is Olive Spectre. And if you go over to Olive Spectre's house, her memories include the only memory of any time she's had woohoo is with the Grim Reaper. So presumably... we all know where babies come from. That means that Olive Spectre and the Grim Reaper must be Nervous Subject's parents.
They made a baby.
With love.
Maybe. There's a theory that Nervous Subject is pure science experiment and is actually a clone of the Grim Reaper because he doesn't particularly resemble Olive Spectre. She has dark skin and white hair when you see her in the game. That could be because she's an elder. And if you do the math, which I don't ever encourage anyone to do math when it comes to The Sims.
Ever. No. Or anytime. I'm firmly against math.
I'm not going that far.
Personally.
I think we shouldn't go that far. But if you look at the value of the simoleon, for one thing, there's no straightforward math about that.
No, that's all wacky anyway. Doesn't matter.
And same with ages. So,
yeah.
But supposedly, if you do the math, Olive would have had to have been an elder when she gave birth, which is kind of impossible.
So the theory that Grim Reaper and Olive Spectre are his parents, again, comes from Olive's only memory of a woohoo with anyone is with Grim Reaper, which Also is super rare in Sims 2. The Grim Reaper only comes about, as with all the games, if somebody dies. And in Sims 2, like other games, you could have minimal interactions with the Grim Reaper. But the more you interact with him, you can unlock a couple more interactions, get a little friendlier with death. That may or may not have led to some romantic relation.
Which aren't possible for an average character, but for this NPC, sure, anything's possible.
Yeah, and that's where all this sort of wacky speculation comes in. I mean, we are going off of the logic of the games as we know them. Clearly some, back-end developer craziness went on to make this what it is, but we like to speculate and fill in the blanks.
Someone was bored at night.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of ways to make this game a little bit more weird.
Yeah, I support it.
Yeah, I mean, it gave us something to talk about.
Yeah.
So one thing I miss in The Sims 4, in The Sims 2, and in The Sims 3, I really liked the memory feature, like where you could kind of go in and be a detective and learn about a character's past and history through the memories. And there's nothing like that in The Sims 4. Like you're left wondering, like, why is Darling Walsh in this household with two other adults, but she's not related to them and she's a teenager? No one knows.
Yeah. I mean, the best you can do with played Sims is the memory wall, or the notification wall, I should say.
Right.
The notification wall that eats itself from the bottom after 200 notifications.
Pretty temporary.
You're right. There's not much lasting documentation on your played sim. And if you're talking townies and NPCs, forget it. You're kind of going in at the start of their story for what it's worth.
Right. But what you're getting at with Olive is that she seems to have had many interactions with this Grim Reaper. And how do you get the Grim Reaper to show up? You kind of have to be a death magnet. And it turns out, if you look in Olive's history, she's been widowed several times.
Oh my god.
Yep.
So perhaps it's possible she might have killed her previous husbands, and some of them I don't think even made it to husband. I think one of them was her fiance.
Her lover.
Yeah.
All right. So from these memories, here's what we know about Olive. We know she's been widowed multiple times. I believe that we know that a couple of those husbands, ex-lovers, died not just of old age. There were a few, but some have died of fire. Some have died of drowning. We also know some of these facts because if you go into the expansive graveyard on her property in the home where she lives, the gravestones have the names and some information of some of the Sims that have been laid to rest there. So we can speculate that there were a multitude of reasons why these people passed, and we can only speculate that maybe Olive had something to do with it.
Not all of them are husbands either. She has a sister, a brother-in-law, a neighbor. I believe there's a delivery person, either a newspaper person or a mailman, and maybe like another technician, repairman. She's got a lot of graves on her lot.
How else do we expect for her to get with the Reaper, though?
We're just saying she might pass the psychopath test.
Yeah, for sure. For example, her biography in-game states Olive will stop at nothing to get what she wants. She spends her time collecting mushrooms, sharpening sticks, and excavating her yard. What does that say? What does that say to you? Any guesses? Any guesses?
She likes to dig holes?
Yeah, for who?
Herself.
So on Olive's lot, we have quite the cast of characters. Earl E. Demise, wonderfully punny. That was Olive's first love who left her at the altar. He died of electrocution. Are the chills down your spine yet? Get ready. He had a brother. His name was Tim Lee Demise.
Timely.
As in timely.
I got it.
So an early demise and then a timely demise. So one of them deserved it at the time. He also died of electrocution. So make that of what you will. That could have been Olive's doing because, I mean, Earl left her at the altar. Who wouldn't be mad?
Sabotage.
Her first actual husband, Rigor Mortis, gotta love the name. They did get married, but he died in a fire as an elder. Hugh Thanasia, Olive's second husband, and brother to Luthanasia, Hugh and Lou Thanasia, they died in a fire as an adult. Ichabod Spector was Olive's final husband. She took his name, obviously. And he's the only person in this graveyard who died of a natural death, like a long life, and then passed away. Very interesting.
Ichabod. Come on, who doesn't love that guy?
I know. Good old Ichabod. Good guy. Maybe he's the one who set her up with the Grim Reaper. Maybe that's how they met. I don't know. We've got Olive's sister and brother-in-law. These are Willow and Creon Nigmos. They're Ophelia's parents. They died of drowning. Interesting.
In a pool without a ladder?
Possible, probable, seeing as that's the only way a sim could be in water in The Sims 2. Food for thought. We've also got Olive and Willow's parents, grandparents of Ophelia, Peponi Mwenda and Lerato Mwenda, a last name that sounds suspiciously like death.
Tomb.
Oh, I dig that. So both Olive's parents died in a fire. At the same time, it's unclear. So those are the relatives, which you think, okay, maybe she's got her own relatives buried on her own family cemetery. That's only kind of weird. Now we go into a list of people she was not related to.
Who died on her lot?
Who died, I guess, because that's how it works in Sims 2. If you die, that's where your tombstone is, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so let's run through these. You've got Patrick Jones, who was a townie, died of electrocution. Danielle Greaves, a pizza delivery woman who died of starvation. She is listed as the first sim to be buried on Olive's lot.
She wanted olives on her pizza, and she did not give her olives.
Yeah. Olive seems very temperamental in that way. Additionally, we have Jessica Ibadi, a maid who died of starvation. Lila Grunt is the ex-wife of General Buzz Grunt. He is another playable character, and she died after electrocution after she divorced General Buzz. What do we think that means? I know. We might need to have a whole other episode for kind of the weird connections in Strange Town. Stay tuned for that coming up at some point. Further down the list, we've got Melissa Sims and Vicky Sims. That's an adult and a teenager. They both died of starvation, so maybe they were waiting for the pizza too. You've got a teenage boy who died of drowning, a repairman, a male woman, a bug exterminator. They died of drowning and starvation. And here's what's worth mentioning, and this kind of falls into our whole theory that the developers are leaving these Easter eggs, and they're, very aware of this whole, it goes straight to the top is what we say. So a bunch of these NPCs, almost all of the, delivery men, pizza delivery people, exterminator, all of these folk have damaged data, and if you try to resurrect them, they will glitch your game. The only two that can be resurrected without potential downsides is Danielle Greaves, the pizza delivery woman, and Jessica Ibadi, the maid, both of whom died of starvation. Everybody else in this whole list, including her past lovers, the parents, the parents of Ophelia, they have corrupted data. If you try to resurrect them, some of their appearances will be all randomized and all kinds of messed up stuff. So prone to graphical glitches, like when you try to age them up, it'll get all messed up. So these are all I don't know, for me, and this might be me with my tinfoil hat on, this screams like cover up to me.
Oh yeah.
So Maxis, y'all got some splaining to do. We've got some top-notch puns working in this this whole story of Olive.
Some people have speculated that Olive Spectre is actually supposed to sound like I love Spectre or I love specters. And Spectre, of course, is another word for ghost.
Maybe she's like the woman version of the Grim Reaper.
Ooh, that's true. Maybe she's a retired Grim Reaper. She lives with her niece. I couldn't figure out what the last name was. That the last name you just read? Ophelia
Nigmos, which leads me to believe there's got to be an E Nigmos, right? Like Enigma.
That's what I'm thinking. It sounds like Enigma. I don't know why Ophelia's there. I mean, she seems like she's only there to surprise you when Olive dies in game and her inheritance doesn't go to Ophelia, who's the person who lives with her. Instead, it goes to Nervous.
Aha!
Oh, maybe her parents died.
Right. She's living with her because she's her aunt, but she doesn't inherit Olive's money. Nervous subject inherits Olive's money when she passes. So it's like, what?
Oh,
maybe she just didn't update her will.
That's it.
Hey, stop what you're doing right now. Pause this and go update your will.
Good call. Yeah. That this is turning, I don't hate. It's interesting that this is turning into an Olive Spectre episode, but the interesting stuff about Nervous really can't exist without Olive.
She made him, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, maybe she's self-absorbed, he gets taken away from her as a child, but he's not officially adopted by the Beakers, so it's my pet theory that he wasn't raised in the Beaker household. Like, I think he goes to them as an adult.
So you think he was, like, raised in the system and then aged out, and then as an adult
possibly
is like a roommate?
But, see, you went deep into the family tree. I went deep into his friendship relationship history.
Ah.
So the only friend that Nervous Subject has in The Sims 2 is Pascal Curious.
Pascal Curious, tell me about him.
He's in the Curious Fit household. I didn't actually memorize all of their names because he doesn't have a relationship with the other members of the Curious family. But for the purposes of my Let's Play, because I took all these characters and put them in The Sims 4. We'll get to that a little more later.
Good.
But so like the only friend he has is Pascal Curious. In the actual Sims 2 world, Pascal's an adult when you start the game, and Nervous has a tendency to show up on Pascal's lot around the time that he gives birth to his mysterious alien baby, because you start the game and he's already been impregnated by the alien spacecraft.
Yep.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting.
Very interesting. I remember very, very vividly Sims 2 playing as a kid, being nervous that my Sim would get abducted by aliens, because when that happened, you could get pregnant as a male or female Sim. And then they drop you off back on Earth and you'd have to have this child and it would be part alien. Has that ever happened to either of you playing the more recent games, either 3 or 4?
I'm upset. I've never been abducted.
You have to get to work, right?
Yes.
It depends on the save. I will have saves where they get abducted all the time. And then I have other saves where it doesn't matter if I'm already playing a scientist, if I have telescope on the lot or anything like that, they just don't ever get abducted.
Is there a way to like increase the chances of that?
So that's the thing, is like in theory, being a scientist, being in the scientist career makes it more likely. Being outside at night makes it more likely. Oh, also having aliens in your household makes it more likely that you'll be abducted. However, I discovered in another save that ghosts can be abducted, which I had no idea. And nobody in the house was an alien or a scientist or anything. And he just got up out of his bed, walked downstairs out in front of the house to get abducted. And I'm like, you're a ghost. It was very strange. But sadly, none of them ever come back pregnant.
Aliens don't have preferences.
Well, clearly not. Although I don't know if I've heard of any women getting impregnated by aliens in The Sims 4. It seems to only happen to men.
Wait, so you've had a male Sim in Sims 4 come back from an abduction and be pregnant?
No, but I've seen it played out on Let's Plays, so I know it happened.
I mean, it's got to be so rare. I don't know what will increase the chance of the alien instances, because it has happened to me maybe a handful of times and never has it returned with a pregnancy in 4.
I've seen it happen too.
And yet, my anxiety spikes every time that an alien abduction is happening. It's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And it usually ends up not doing anything. But I have PTSD from Sims 2 alien abductions.
Yeah.
In my 100 Babies Cassandra Goth Black Widow Let's Play that has become semi-infamous on the show, Bella Goth got abducted by aliens once. And again, no rhyme or reason. She was a secret agent. Nobody was a scientist. So I have no idea.
Check back to our Goth episode for more information on Bella and her alien ties.
I know, wasn't that exciting? I was so excited. I'm like, Bella got abducted.
I'm currently in my own black hole of the Sims wiki just for what we're talking about right now. And let me tell you, it gets intense.
I guess we could talk about what Nervous Subject is like and what his appearance is like. So personality-wise, according to the weird Sims astrology, he's an Aquarius, and they gave him scores of 10 neat points and 10 active points, I guess, and then 2 playful, 2 nice, and 1 outgoing, which actually makes him a Sagittarius, but I guess the Sims astrology never really made sense.
It really doesn't.
No.
Yeah, and it's totally different for his Sims 3 persona, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Exactly. Well, we're going back in time, but in the Sims 2, where he's fully adult, he's 27 days away from becoming an elder when you start the game, and he has a mohawk, which I think is a strange look for an adult, but okay. He's wearing a skull t-shirt, which I guess some people think it's a Grim Reaper t-shirt, but I'm pretty sure it's a skull. He's got jeans and flip-flops on, because did the Sims 2 love flip-flops? Yes, it did. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it did.
Oh, and he's also programmed to be extremely hungry when you start playing. Apparently, this is a deliberate thing they did in programming, that he's just like stuffing his face even when he's not hungry. He just keeps eating. And there's something about roaches showing up, but I don't know what makes that happen in The Sims 2 or what that means.
I think that was if you left food out to spoil, you'd get bugged. It's hard to talk about because this is dark. There are a lot of implications here.
Any theories about that? Well, about the roaches particularly.
Should I start?
And the being really hungry.
Well, the being really hungry, I would guess that he's someone that these mad scientists that he lives with, I theorized that they do experiments on him and maybe don't let him eat Maybe they only let him eat their spoiled food. They don't seem to be very nice to him.
There's that.
He lives in a basement. So, if anyone was paying attention, he's had a rough life. His biography says his hobbies include twitching and blinking a lot. Oh my god. And there are several materials when it comes to like game trailers and going back. I think even in the opening credits or the opening scenes of Sims 2, you know, when you launch the game and there's like a little video and it shows you a little bit of gameplay. I'm pretty sure he's being electrocuted. So,
well, if you weren't sure about that, you can just find the old Sims 2 video that may or may not be an official EA product. I think it's an official product because it's a Friday the 13th video and Nervous gets tortured throughout that video. It's basically a snuff film for a nervous subject because at the end he gets crushed by a satellite. It's really as dark as you can get in The Sims.
Super cash.
Yikes.
Yeah, this is where it gets pretty rough.
But so some of the detective work that's gone into this is going into the secret places of the code. There's a hidden nervous subject character, I guess. And apparently that is the one they use to generate this Friday the 13th video. So I guess he's not like technically in the game, but you can find him and he has his own set of memories. So that's a thing. That's about all I understand about this hidden nervous subject. And apparently he's the one that Olive remembers giving birth to, which I guess means they made the nervous subject that lives with the Beakers and create a sim separate of Olive's mysterious pregnancy.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, okay. All that means is, again, this is us filling in the blanks, dotting the lines between what the developers have left as maybe Easter eggs or maybe just, you know, non-intentional breadcrumbs that they have in the game.
Right.
He doesn't share any of Olive's genetics. So people have speculated that he's just like a clone of the Sims 2 Grim Reaper character. So that could have to do with that, you know, coding.
The abuse of poor Nervous for the sake of Sims 2 video. So Nervous Subject and Olive Spectre appear in Sims 3 in a limited capacity. So they live in Midnight Hollow, which is a neighborhood that you can download through the Sims 3 store.
The Supernatural one?
No, I believe it's like a completely separate thing that you have to actually go in through the Sims store to download it.
You'd have to buy it.
Yeah, like Midnight Hollow, I don't know if it's a neighborhood or a lot, but it's separate from any of the other packs. He doesn't come preloaded. So it's even more of an Easter egg. But he shows up as a toddler.
Interesting.
Olive as his mom. And it mentions there that he's the Grim Reaper's son as something to remember Grim by.
Yeah. Want to talk about how messed up that is?
I mean, it's the stuff of country songs.
Truly. How about this to break your heart? In The Sims 3, Nervous's biography states, "This gentleman is living the good life in a place where being himself is all there is."
That's sad.
Compare that to where he's living in a basement in Sims 2. I mean, that just makes me sad. It's just so dark across the different gameplay. And we haven't even gotten to the PSP version.
So the question is, how did he go from living sort of happily as a baby to living in someone's basement?
That's a great question.
It's time for headcanon.
Also known as wild speculation. But not so wild. Yeah, not so wild, because we definitely have some game lore backup to make these conclusions.
Go for it.
Well, I can tell you about this sort of in-between iteration of Nervous Subject in The Sims 2 for PSP. Now, the PSP was a little device from way back in yesteryear. I never had one. I remember a bunch of cool kids on the school bus had them and were like really into it. It was like a Game Boy, but cooler.
Oh no, there's no way I'm letting my kid take their PSP on the school bus.
No, sir. That would be ridiculous. But it was like you had your Game Boy and that was like fun little games. And the PSP was like cool shoot 'em ups and things I wasn't allowed to do. Here's the info I have on that, because I never played it, but he does appear in this PSP version as a ghost. So he's got the same outfit, his little skull shirt, and God, those sandals. Why? Just real strappy ones.
It was the 90s.
No, it wasn't. That was the thing. It was not the 90s. It was the mid-2000s.
Well, early 2000s, which is pretty much just the dregs of the 90s.
Sims 2 came out in 2009.
Oh my God, never mind. I feel so old.
I know. I'm sorry, I just want to correct real quick. The Sims 2 came out in 2004, which is early 2000s, but close to mid, I would say.
Yeah, 2009 was Sims 3.
Oh my god. I just read on something else, and I'm upset now.
What?
I was reading about one of Nervous's past girlfriends, with I'm pretty sure Melissa's gonna touch
Yep.
up on about, but
Mm-hmm.
my theory basically just went down the drain.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all things are possible.
Tell us anyway.
Okay, so after Nervous passed away, he had a girlfriend named Annie Howell. She lived in Detry in the Night Owl Saloon. Before she died, she used to date Nervous, but Nervous signed up to be a test subject for Loki and Cersei Beaker, and he thought that he ran away to be with another woman, and then that's the end of her. So this ruins my theory, because I assumed that he was taken as a child and the Beakers kind of like took him under his wings. But no, he signed up for this lifestyle. He chose.
Well, he chose, yeah. But if you think about, you could say modern day, giving blood. Some people have to like give blood for quick cash. Maybe he was just down on his luck. His mother let him be taken away. His very rich mother, by the way. Like, she couldn't have hired a nanny. I know you couldn't really. Could you hire a nanny in Sims 2?
I think there was a Sims 3 thing.
She didn't hire one in my Let's Play in The Sims 4 either, so.
Very interesting. Yeah, that he had a girlfriend breaks my heart even further.
What I don't understand is in the PSP Sims 2, so Nervous was a Nervous subject worked for the Beakers, basically, but how come he's a ghost on Bella's Espiritu estate mansion?
This further confirms my belief that Bella is tied into all of this nonsense. It all comes back to Bella.
Did Bella buy that from the Beakers?
Maybe.
I don't know. Also, side note, Annie Howell is a werewolf.
Yeah, makes
Wait,
sense.
what's this
Just
now?
in case you didn't know.
Oh my god.
We're trying to blow your mind, Melissa.
My whole world has changed.
Her brother's name is Hoot Howell, by the way.
What's his name?
Okay, well, that's a bit much.
Hoot Howell.
Okay. Howell's a very popular name, let me just say.
Hoot is not.
Are we ready to present Rebecca's theory, one of our researchers?
Yeah, what does she say?
It's Rebecca and Melly's theory, I believe.
What do you got?
Rebecca and mine's theories goes like this. We believe that Nervous was taken from social services by the Beakers, as they were aware of his parents being the Grim Reaper and Olive, and they wanted to study to see if he had any special skills, which is very plausible, but based on him signing up to be a test subject, kind of throws that out the window, in my opinion.
Right, if we believe that.
That could have just been what the Beakers said.
You can't believe everything
yeah.
that's on the internet.
I like that idea.
I mean, he is unemployed as well, so how does he help out with the bills?
He donated his body to their science.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's just so much with Nervous.
The question, one thing I wondered was, did Olive take in Ophelia because she wanted a protege? Like, if Olive is a serial killer or some kind of like Grim Reaper cult killer, maybe she needed to pass that legacy on to someone.
Maybe Olive uses Ophelia to get closer to young, vulnerable teens in the area. Wasn't one of the deaths in her graveyard like a pizza delivery kid person? There was another teen in there too, I think.
Sounds right.
Oh, Olive. How could you?
I know you were wondering about Denise. She has psychopathic tendencies. She lives on a graveyard and will go to sleep if she hears the soothing wails of ghosts.
I also did want to mention at some point that she's got a beautiful red armchair in her graveyard. So, like, that's a thing normal people do. Just sitting in my armchair back in my graveyard, hanging out with the ghosts of all my ex-lovers. Okay, Taylor Swift, like, relax.
Well, I don't have Sims 2, and hadn't played it for a really long time. I'm not sure if I had Strange Town or not. I think I did, but at the time I didn't really realize playing the the townies was a thing that people did. I thought you just always made a character and played your character. So that was a long ago, before I realized this whole Sims thing was a cult. Metaphorically. I read all the research, and I thought I came up with a plan to play out Nervous Subject's life in The Sims 4.
Oh my god, tell us everything.
This started by looking up the perfect Nervous Subject because I wanted to see if someone else had already made him since he's so famous. And in fact, there is a user on the gallery named Scadazzle. It's Scadazzle, who also made the beakers. And interestingly, he has the black mohawk, right?
Mhm.
And in The Sims 4, the mohawk is like black with green. And then when you age him down to a toddler, he has red hair, which is exactly
Red hair, you say?
Yes, which is exactly what his profile on the wikis say his natural hair color is red, but he has a black mohawk. So I thought that was a really cool detail.
He has a red mohawk in the PSP version.
Right. So like his hair color is red and or black. So for some reason it knew to go from black to red. I'm not
Very
saying.
interesting.
I don't know. And I thought, I also downloaded an olive. You can find several olive specters on the gallery, but what impressed me was I also found the specter house. And it looked to me a lot like the one from The Sims, either The Sims 2. I think it was the Sims 2 version. And it's called Specter House. And it's up there under the username Tamar_Neto. And I'll put these links. And it's actually a simplified version. The original was put up there by someone named A. Ellard. So I'll put the links in our show notes just in case you want to download any of these from the gallery. They're pretty good. So I put Olive and Nervous, and I even downloaded a version of the Grim Reaper and made them all related. And then I moved the Grim Reaper off to San Myshuno. Well, first I had Olive divorce him because they were supposed to have a tragic love. So
Interesting. She definitely has a tragic love, if I may interject. Remember Earl E. Demise, who I talked about earlier?
Yes.
He left her at the altar.
How dare he?
I know. That was her first romance, and he up and left. So that, I would say, might be her traumatic origin, you might say. But please continue.
Okay, so I always thought Olive was a serial killer. So the first thing she did was befriend the first person she saw. Well, first I put the house in Forgotten Hollow. Luckily enough, the person walking by wasn't a vampire. It was none other than Geoffrey Landgrab. She befriends Geoffrey Landgrab, moves him in. It's freezing because I started the game in winter. And so she moved him in with her family, but then left him outside in the cold, and he froze to death.
Adorable.
Plot thickens because the Grim Reaper that showed up to reap him was the one that I downloaded from the gallery and had her divorce.
Whoa.
Which I did not expect. I thought the game would give me like the normal like Grim Reaper that no one's ever met, but no, it actually pulled the one from the gallery. So he showed up and had like the negative romance bar with her because she had divorced him.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know what's up with that, but it was pretty funny. And I didn't have Nervous taken away because I went to control where he went. But after, suffering and being neglected in Olive's household for a while, I decided to move him out and download the Curious family from the gallery, which you can easily find it just by searching Pascal Curious. And I can't vouch for the accuracy of the characters, but they looked pretty good to me. So I downloaded that family, aged Pascal down to a child, aged Nervous up to a child, did lots of artificial aging in this Let's Play. But I just wanted to go in and have them become friends and then have the beakers. So the beakers that I downloaded already came advanced in the medicine and science career. So that was really helpful because I was like, I wanted them to already be established mad scientists by the time that they get their hands on Nervous subject. But basically, Nervous becomes friends with Curious and they age up to be teenagers. And then Nervous meets Annie Howell, who's his next door neighbor. They become friends. They get in a romantic relationship. And as young adults, we have these three young people living together. Pascal, he becomes a scientist. Annie and Nervous subject all live together as roommates. And Nervous and Annie get pregnant. So now Nervous is like, what am I going to do? I barely passed high school. I've got no skills, but I want to have a family. And if you look up his profile on the wiki, his aspiration is family. So he wants to support his child as best he can. So he goes and agrees to move in with the Beakers and let them do some experiments in exchange for the money that they'll give him to raise his son, his kid.
Oh God. It's all coming
Isn't
together.
It beautiful? So, Nervous subject moves in with the Beakers. Annie's pregnant. I just have to warn you, this story doesn't end well for Nervous subject.
Oh, no.
It never does.
So first the Beakers put him in a pool for 12 hours. He survived. Then they put him in the hot box, which was a room with a grill, a campfire, and a washer and dryer. And he survived. Meanwhile, they built a rocket ship. And he had to go and try to launch as many times as he could for 12 hours. And it crashed, but he survived.
No way. I think he's got increased immunity because of all of these
all these trials and tribulations.
death misses.
They got a weather machine to make it thunderstorm, so he had to repair the rocket ship and broken electronics in the rain. He was struck by lightning and got the supercharged moodlet, but not the lightning bender ability. So he was struck by lightning.
That's a fun one I learned of very recently.
Yeah. I was like, why didn't I get the lightning bender? But oh well. He survived. Then he spent 12 hours without food and survived. Then they forced him to have a birthday cake and age up to become an adult. And then he was back in the pool, but this time for 18 hours. And I'm sad to say, Nervous Subject did not survive the 18 hours in the pool.
So lightning will take him out, but a pool will.
What a story.
I mean, this is the Sims 4 gallery version of Nervous Subject, but it makes for a good story. And you'll never guess.
Sure does.
He had twins.
Oh.
I got a call from Annie. He's like, oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know that I had babies. It was so cool because I'd never gotten that call before. Anyway, so I had, in the mythos, Nervous has a negative relationship with Loki Beaker. Like, they've apparently had some arguments.
Yeah. Maybe it went something like, hey, I want to do experiments on you. No, I don't want you to do experiments on me. We now have
Exactly,
a negative relationship.
Like, oh, I thought you just wanted me to help out with your, like, lab work. You know, keeping results on the computer. No, I want to actually attach electrodes to your private parts. So he wasn't cool with that. But he had a decent relationship with Cersei. So Cersei went over to Annie's house and gave her some money on behalf of Nervous.
This is heartbreaking. You have somehow made Nervous's story even sadder.
I'm really good at that. Ask my friends.
Oh, Lord. That was a trip.
I'm sorry, everybody. Let's all like shake it out, get some positive vibes going here.
Happy thoughts.
Oh, yeah. It's much more intense when you say it all out loud.
Are we drawing our story of Nervous to a close in general?
I think so. I mean, he passed away in the Sim. He's passed away in the Sims, primary timeline. He's ghost at the Goth estate. He's passed away in my timeline. It's
Amazing.
Just the end for Nervous Subject.
Sadly.
If you fair listeners have played a Nervous-like storyline, maybe a adopted or kidnapped individual upon whom science experiments are conducted, tell us all about them. We want to hear it all. We want to hear your weird. Send it to us on Twitter, Insta, or on our website, undertheplumbob.com.
That's right. We are also on Twitch and YouTube. YouTube's basically the catching place for our Twitch videos that, once we have them, we'll convert them so that they aren't lost to the scrubbers that are the Twitch people. I don't know how that works, but they just disappear after a while. But you can pretty much find us under the Plum Bob podcast anywhere, and you can subscribe, rate, and review us. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play, and anywhere you want us to be. Just let us know. We'll get signed up.
AOL. We're there.
Yep.
Is there an AOL?
I think that website's like not a thing anymore.
My AIM username is simsgirl93 at AOL.com. Don't email that. That might be a real person. It very well could have been my username, though, back in the day.
Oh, you were joking.
Yes!
Oh my God.
No.
I thought you were telling the truth. Telling lies? Much thanks to our researchers who worked on this episode. Jen, Rebecca, Melly, myself. Clearly, Melissa had a window open. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
Thanks, as always, to the wonderful Sims fan sites out there that provide most of our research and news, especially Sims Community, Sims VIP, Carl's Sims 4 Guide, and Iron Seagull on YouTube.
Yes.
Because we need all y'all.
Yeah, and as mentioned in a previous episode from Team Cowplant, the Sims franchise is turning 19 years old this February. 19, people. That's blowing my mind.
Old enough to vote, but not old enough to have any of that juice at the juice bar.
That's right. Or Nectar, if you're playing Sims 3.
I still haven't found Nectar. It came with one of the... Which one is it?
A vacation one. Other Worlds. World Adventures. World Adventures?
I think it came... They have a version of Nectar in The Sims 4 too, but I think you have to be a really good bartender to get it. Anyway, we hope that you enjoyed your bartender on New Year's Eve. And you're not still hungover, because this is like quite a few days after the first.
And tip your waitresses, because it's the 1920s.
Exactly. Keep tuning in, because next week, Team Cowplant's going to be discussing custom content for your household. All your household needs. Your, decor, your kitchen items. Who knows? Like I said, the world's your oyster in 2019.
Live your best life.
I guess that means we have to go back to the real world.
I guess so. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and just keep staying out there, keep playing, keep simming, keep sending us positive feedback, and we'll just keep trucking along and making these podcasts.
Tell us all about your gameplay. Send in your stuff. We want to hear about it, and we thank you for continuing to be a part of our community.
Badish. Dag dag.